All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Mike Gross, and this is a new podcast. So now there are now 11 people in America who don't have a podcast. There were 13 until now. Now there are 11. My name is Mike Gross, and my partner's name is Gordie Jones, and the podcast is After the Buzzer, which means that's when we do our work as sports writers. That's what we are, sports writers. So we talk about sports or write about sports after sort of the dust is cleared for the games. So I am a sports writer for Lancaster newspapers. I cover Penn State football primarily. I'm also a columnist. I've been doing it for a long, long time. And so has Gordie. Gordie, introduce yourself to the vast listening audience.
I now have a civilian job, but I did the sports writing thing forever and still kind of dabble in it. I, too, worked at Lancaster newspapers for a long time, and then I worked at the Allentown Morning Call, and then I freelanced for basically every outlet in America. So
he freelanced his ass off, this guy.
It's true. So, but here we are.
Here we are. And we should say, I think we should be plugging like crazy here. You can find Gordie's stuff, which is a lot of Sixers stuff, a lot of good NBA stuff at Forbes.com.
That is correct. Yes, very much so. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so it's the Monday after we learned the selections of the NCAA tournament. So that's going to be today's focus. There'll be a lot of things going forward, a lot of other topics as we go forward on this adventure. But today it's NCAAs. So the brackets came out yesterday. How did they do?
Well, there's people that say that a team like LSU is overseeded, but I find it hard to believe that they didn't get it wrong when they get three teams from the ACC as number one seeds. To me, that was a no-brainer. Just seeing how their tournament unfolded. And you know, there are those who believe that four ACC teams could make the Final Four. I find that ludicrous. I don't think that's going to happen.
So you're good with three ACC teams?
I'm fine with it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the opposite.
No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I am too.
I mean, how could you look at that tournament and not say that that's not the best conference? Now, they didn't get the most teams in. I mean, they had the second most. The Big Ten actually had more. They had 8. The ACC had 7. So
I think the SEC had more too.
Did they?
But I think so. Yeah, which is crazy. But I don't think that necessarily means that the ACC is the best conference, though.
And your argument would be?
There's another league could be better top to bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but I think those of the three that were number one seeds from the ACC, I think Virginia is the one who has the best resume, maybe, except that they lost twice to Duke.
Correct.
But the other two, I think, have a better chance of winning the whole thing.
Yeah, that's possibly true. I mean, it's arguable. I mean, Duke is the number one overall seed, but they can't shoot. And it's unlike any team Mike Krzyzewski's ever had. It's just a bunch of guys playing balls out all the time. They get a lot off their defense. They have tremendous energy.
They are good defensively. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
For kids who are that young,
and such a contrast to the teams he's had recently. You know, remember they're sitting in that silly zone with Marvin Bagby because he couldn't guard anybody.
That's right. Yeah,
they played zone and they were terrible at it. And now you have them. They just come out and attack you. Trey Jones is a great on the ball defender. Zion is kind of like the 285-pound free safety, kind of wandering around and just going and see ball, get ball.
I'm not sure how good an on the ball defender he is against a really good player, but you're right. He is a freelancer, really effective at that. Yeah.
Unbelievable, and it's just I just love the energy they play with. I really do. I mean, it's really unlike what we've seen lately with the one and dones that Krzyzewski has brought in there. These guys really just seem to really want to dig down and play, and it's really interesting for me to watch.
Let's do the argument that lasts for 2 days and then everybody forgets about it, which is about who got in and who didn't, and the seedings and the brackets and all that stuff.
Right.
So it was a little bit the argument this year was that it was such a big soft bubble,
right?
Which it really was.
Right.
I mean, there were so many teams in the Power 5 conferences who were like 19 and 14,
right?
And
500 in the conference.
Yeah, and 500 in the conference, which to me means you're out. But you know. And then the other thing is they went to a new metric this year.
Yes,
which is
net
called
rating.
The net rating.
Yes, it's a mystery rating, correct?
They went. It's a mystery. It's. This is. I love this word. It's a proprietary rating. Okay.
I love jargon.
Okay, it's a proprietary rating, and also they got rid of the RPI. Remember the RPI? You used to hear about that all the time.
And probably for good reason, though, because wasn't that a lot based on win-loss record?
The RPI was a Commodore 64. In this era of metrics, it's ridiculous that they were using that as long as they did. It was absurd. It had no margin of victory or point differential thing at all.
Yeah.
Which is just. Yes. How can anybody who understands sports thinks that's okay? Yeah. That's ridiculous. Now, the net thing has a margin of victory thing that is capped at 10 points, which is only slightly less stupid.
Right.
Did you see the Duke-Florida State game?
Yes.
It was a very good, very competitive basketball game.
Yes, it was.
And it ended up an exactly 10-point margin. So you're saying that's the same, in effect, as if Duke had beat them by 40.
Yeah, I mean,
Stop it.
That was a 2-possession game, probably. Yeah, I mean, really.
That's ridiculous. But anyway, but I think the point is, because there's a lot of people who think that the NCAA is out to stick it to the little guy.
Yeah.
Well, I got news for you with the metrics. The metrics are not going to help the little guy. Mm-hmm. If you have metrics that are helping UNC Greensboro, they're bad metrics. Mm-hmm. That's not, so you're not going to. So you're just going to. The committee is just going to have to decide. Hey, if you got 24, 25, 26 wins. Mm-hmm. And you were first or second in your conference and didn't win your conference tournament. So you're an at-large, mid-major. You got 24, 25, 26 wins. You should be in.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Our old buddy Mike Rose.
I was just going to mention him.
God love him. Is coaching a team, Virginia Commonwealth, who is in this exact situation.
Yes.
They had won 13 or 14 in a row. They got beaten their conference tournament. He got an at-large. Mike Rhodes is dancing. Our old buddy from Lebanon Valley
Could not
College.
be happier for him.
Yeah,
one of the great guys in sports.
It's awesome. But that's a good example of the kind of team that should be getting in. And these teams on the bubble from the Power Five, which would have made a hell of a football tournament. It was Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, right? Texas. I mean, what a football tournament. Just let them have a football tournament.
So Nick Saban lets them play basketball at Alabama. I am stunned by this revelation.
Nick Saban not only lets them play basketball, he plays a pickup game with his assistant coaches.
He stacks the sides, as I understand.
Stacks the sides, so he can't lose. He's never lost a pickup game. That's Nick Saban for you. But that's another story for another podcast.
September, we'll get to that.
That's right. So we got nothing but time. But anyway, the way this turned out, I think they did okay in terms of giving the little guy his due. Wofford is a good example.
Yes.
They got in, and I think Virginia Commonwealth is a really good example of that. And there's some others. There actually were 7 non-power conference at-large teams. Yes. So I think they did okay with that.
But to loop back to your point about the NCAA messing with the little guy. I mean, you remember, I don't know if they had it this year, I don't remember, but other years they've had that bracket buster weekend where basically it's sort of an elimination weekend.
I think they got rid of that. I don't think they did that.
Yeah, I guess they probably didn't get ratings because it was pretty much a TV show.
Yeah.
Which obviously there's a lot of that with the NCAA tournament, or else you wouldn't have like Minnesota playing Louisville, for instance.
How about that?
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That seems like, let's create a shitstorm where there is no.
Yes, fair.
Let's just go out of our way to create that.
Yes,
isn't that weird?
Yeah, well, but you do see that. You do see things like that where storylines are, created by the committee, even though they would claim that they don't do that.
And of course, Rick Pitino is jetting in from Greece to watch the game. And
speaking of great stories, John Gonzalez on The Ringer wrote a wonderful story.
I read that. That was terrific.
Unbelievable story about Pitino in Greece.
Yeah, that's one of the things
highly recommend.
we should do from time to time is recommend not only our brilliant work, but the brilliant work of others.
Well, it kind of goes without saying.
That does. I don't know why I bothered to say that, but it does go without saying. Yeah, so there's that. But I really think they did okay. Now here's one thing that the ESPN panelists were really carrying on about that I didn't quite understand.
Okay.
They made a really big deal out of, well, Gonzaga must be the 4th overall seed, like like the lowest of the number 1 seeds. And Michigan State must be the highest of the number 1 seeds, so they should have gotten the same region. So they stuck Michigan State with Duke,
Right.
and they put Michigan, which lost 3 times to Michigan State,
yeah.
as the 2 seed in the same region in the same region as Gonzaga. Well, here's the answer to that. If you look at these net ratings, Gonzaga is number 2 in the country in that net rating, and Michigan State is 8. So, okay, well, you can argue about but Pomeroy is the same thing. Gonzaga is number 2 with Pomeroy, too, who everybody respects.
Sure.
Seems to respect Pomeroy.
True.
So that was sort of a very easy answer to that, and they were ranting and raving for a long time about
And
that.
just as a sidebar, that's kind of, if it would play out that they end up playing each other, given Gonzaga's tournament history and given Izzo's tournament history, that's an interesting sidelight to that. Izzo tends to overachieve and Gonzaga tends to underachieve.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And Gonzaga, I saw their conference championship game where they lost to St. Mary's,
yeah.
and they looked a little vulnerable in that game.
Scored 47
Yeah,
points.
they had a really hard time scoring, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of them.
No.
Although I saw them in November play Duke, and
Beat
that
Duke?
was they had Zion then. It was everybody was at full strength, and that was a really high level, really athletic game for November, and
Yeah.
Gonzaga won.
And they have some bigs that can match up with a team like Duke. So there's that. But, then they also went to North Carolina and they put up 90. I mean, they lost 103 to 90, but, still competitive at Carolina.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
The deserving seed, I would say.
We mentioned the word Zion.
And who is he again?
He's one of those one name guys like Madonna and Cher. That's another, one of the other things that's going to make him the biggest celebrity in the world. He is so interesting in so many ways, but
Yes.
let's just talk about the basketball ways first,
Yes.
because I think he is one of the top 4 or 5 all-time stars in college basketball. We were talking about this earlier. Pete Maravich, Lou Alcindor, then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and David Thompson would be 3 guys that came to mind who sort of were what he is in college basketball, and he's doing it in 1 year as a freshman.
That's fair. I mean, it's interesting to me, the names you mentioned, because that takes us back to the 70s.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that there hasn't been anybody quite on that pantheon.
I think
in the interim.
Yeah, that's right. When do you even when did anybody from Duke average 20 a game? Even Leitner didn't really do that.
I don't think he did. High teens probably, yeah.
The numbers, you don't see big numbers. Remember Austin Carr?
I do.
Remember how he scored? That doesn't exist anymore almost.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
But what a player he is.
Yes, and as I've mentioned to you, I talked to Mike Jaminski, who does ACC games for Raycom, which the ACC tournament final was their last game. It's going to be the ACC network that's going to carry those games next year. And his take on Zion, I threw out there the comparison of Charles Barkley to Zion, just because I see the same up and down. I'm going to go from one end of the court to the other and score and dunk on your head, et cetera, et cetera. And Jaminski's comparison was LeBron without a jumper. And the sidelight to that was he also said that he thinks Zion's body is a little loose. That was his, in quotes, that was his take on Zion, which is interesting to me because I look at him and I just see, I see a big muscular guy. I don't see a lot of loose there.
Did you see a bong around Jaminski when he was tough?
Did not.
His body is a little loose.
That's what he said. That's what the man said.
Wow. Well, this is we don't know what he's going to be. He's a teenager.
Yes.
We don't know what he's going to be yet, and it's going to be interesting to find out what he's going to be. But this is I will make this distinction. I think if you could compare LeBron is a guy who creates offense for his team.
Correct.
He brings the ball up. Okay, we're going to do this and create a good shot for it. He's a facilitator in that way. He is the football analog. To me, the football analog is Aaron Rodgers to LeBron.
Fair.
To me, Zion is react and attack guy. He's going to be, to me, the football analog to Zion is Lawrence Taylor.
That's good. He's bigger than Lawrence Taylor.
I just think LeBron and him are fundamentally different now. Again, it might change because this kid is a phenomenal work in progress. It might change, but I don't think he's LeBron. I really don't.
Fair.
I don't think he's that kind of guy.
And the other comparison, as I mentioned to you, I spoke with Lefty Giselle. We were speaking in the context of Moses Malone, and Lefty made the comparison that he's just a natural, and that's what LeBron or what Zion is. That
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I never thought of that until you said that.
Nor did I until he said that. So I mean, I just think that's a really interesting comparison. And in the context of that, he also said that he wishes they had that rule, the one and done rule, when Moses was there, because he'd have a national championship. Because he would have played with John Lucas and Brad Davis and Mo Howard and Steve Shepard.
Would Greg Manning have been there? No, I guess not. That was before. Yeah.
But the team that he had without Moses went 24-5 and reached the Elite Eight. So if they had Moses, they probably win it. That was 1974.
Yeah, what a college.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think he would have been a freak in college. My God, yeah. But I think that's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah.
Now, Zion, I think, has more perimeter skills. He's not a center.
No.
He's not going to be a center.
No.
But that relentless attacking, that ability to find your way through space and he is unbelievably explosive. You would think when he catches the ball with his back to the basket, you would think, okay, we're going to double team him, and the two double teamers are going to be like shoulder to shoulder. But he does that spin move and dunks.
Yes. Look at the game-winning shot against North Carolina. I mean, there were 4 Carolina guys around him. And he was the first one off the floor, and therefore he scored. They win the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
And they actually defended it pretty well, but he went up and got it again.
Yes.
He went up on the second. That's where he's similar to Barkley, that second jump thing.
Well, also Moses was like that, too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was.
And so I think there's merit to all that. So it's going to be interesting to see how he develops. It's going to be interesting to see how healthy he can stay because he plays so hard. And, across 82 games, that takes its toll, clearly. But, he's so much fun to watch.
A lot of people have said that when he got hurt, everybody said, well, this is a good example of how obscene it is that he's not in the NBA and already made his money, et cetera, et cetera. But his value and his stardom has increased tremendously in this year at Duke that it really wouldn't have if he'd have gone straight to the NBA, in my opinion, because I don't think he would have been the immediate star. I don't think he would have been. I mean, a year ago, he was a YouTube sensation, with the dunking. But I had no idea that he had the basketball IQ that he does, that he's the competitor that he is, that he can do all the things he can do. I think being in college for a year, and what kind of shoe deal would he have gotten a year ago compared to the one he's going to get in a couple months? I mean, it's off the charts. His shoe deal is going to be, what, $60 million?
Will it be with Nike, though, after what happened in February 20th?
I'm not going to Nike. No, I'm not going to Nike. Gary, our producer here, is going, Nike.
I mean, how crazy was that? That the Nike was they flew in the next day and then went to China to redesign a new shoe just for this kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously smart marketing because what a disaster for them. That the highest profile player in the highest profile game of the year in the first minute blows out his shoe completely.
And here's a little interest. I just thought of this. This is sort of a sideline of this. For a long time, other sneaker companies kind of conceded this a little bit to Nike. They conceded this market a little. That's changing.
Yeah.
Puma is getting in. Puma's getting in this game now.
Walt Clyde Frazier.
I have heard. There you go. I have heard that Penn State is not entirely thrilled with their Nike deal. Oh. And that Sandy Barber might be going to Nike. This is just something I heard. Yeah. It's just guys talking, But there's a business element to this. There's a cultural element to this. It's funny. There's another thing. It's funny is that this academic scandal where all these celebrities are paying schools to get this comes along right after he gets hurt. Well, people have always argued that a college education is not that valuable. Well, look at what these lunatic people will to get their kid into the college of their choice. That's the other thing. We're not just looking at the cost of a college education, getting into the college that you really want to go to, or you really want your kid to go to.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so anyway, Zion is like already a cultural icon.
He is that. There's
And
no question about that. And it'll be really interesting to see the swath that he cuts through this tournament. And it'll be really interesting. And their team, I mean, to me, the team that beats them is like Loyola was last year, like experienced. Wow. With experienced guards that won't turn it over, won't get flustered by their pressure, and they're flying around and can play some zone defense to the other end, make them shoot, 5 for 50 from three. Here's a comparison I wrote down yesterday, in fact, to this Duke team. 2010, Kentucky had John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Bledsoe. They lost in the regional final to West Virginia when they got zoned up and they couldn't make a shot.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So that's the kind of team that's that's going to give Duke problems.
And there are a lot of it seems to me that there's a lot of in this field, a lot of kind of veteran teams that are pretty athletic. I put Tennessee in that category. I put Florida State in that category. I put Virginia Tech in that category, which beat Duke.
Yeah, and
although Duke without Zion.
And they'll get Duke in the third round.
Yeah,
I think.
that's right. They're in the same region.
Yeah.
They're in the same region as Duke. So that I don't see Duke as the overall favorite, and I'm not picking them to win it.
All right, big guy, who you picking?
I'm picking the Tar Heels.
Oh God!
Yes. I'm not a fan, but no. I like their team an awful lot. I think they do everything well. They play faster than everybody else, and they're used to playing at that tempo.
They can shoot,
and they can shoot. They can really shoot, which he hasn't. He's had a lot of teams that had bigs and not shooters, or he had a lot of teams that were, had a lot of shooters, but not other things. But I think they're really good. I think they're really good.
Plus, I think they've gotten better as the years gone on.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think their region is a little tricky. I mein, Auburn's in their region. Houston is in their region.
They didn't get a great bracket. I agree with that. I agree with that. I was thinking before the tournament that, in fact, I was talking to this guy that I talk to all the time at the gym. He's a big gambler. He goes to the casino all the time, plays poker, and he said he came up to me the other day and he said, the other day you could have got North Carolina 18-1. Out here at the casino at Grantville, and you got them 18-1, and I almost drove out there. But then he said the next day it's down to 12-1, and I saw now it's like 9 or 10-1.
Okay,
I mean they were not hurt by losing to Duke, and I don't think that did hurt them. I think if anything that helped them a little bit, losing that game. But I like the Tar Heels a lot. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a sizable argument to be made for them for sure.
Let's do it. Let's break it down.
Let's break it down.
What do you got, big fella?
Okay. As I told you, this is probably just a commentary about how I am. I had more of an argument about which of the top seeds would not make the Final Four as opposed to which would. So,
okay.
But then I looked at Duke's bracket and I kind of figured I don't see anybody in their bracket who can beat them. I really don't. So
I think Virginia Tech, it's possible.
Possible.
And I think Michigan State is possible too.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I'm not.
It's not a great Michigan State team, and they lost a couple guys over the course of the season, so that didn't help.
You're forgetting Yale, big guy.
Yes, I am.
How about that matchup? Yale against LSU in the first round.
Welcome, fellow scholars.
Yeah, welcome, fellow scholars. And LSU is this complete mess with their coach. Is their coach going to jail? Has he been suspended? Is he going to be coaching? I mean, and Yale is pretty good.
Yes.
The Ivy League is pretty good.
Yes, so I've heard that. I did not see an Ivy League game all year, but I've heard that the Ivy was quite good.
Penn won the Big Five.
Right.
And barely made the Ivy League tournament, which is only 4 teams, and lost in the semifinals. They're pretty good. I mean, let's not go nuts. It's still the Ivy League, but maybe like 10 years ago, they changed their approach a little bit to recruiting, and they started spending some money and getting guys and going out and getting people. And the Ivy League is pretty good. It's a pretty good league, but they're not going to have it. There's only have one team in the tournament, and they're not going to do anything. But Still, it's kind of interesting.
They could make it scary for
I
somebody
think they
else.
could win that game.
Yeah,
against
fair,
LSU.
fair.
How much of a dumpster fire is LSU right now? That's the whole issue. With
Any
that.
sentence that has the words dumpster fire in it is okay by me.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that's the East. Let's
So
look at.
I have Duke coming out of the East. Where are you still? Are you there, or where are you at with that?
No, I'm Duke.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Duke because I think they did get a pretty good. I
Yeah.
think they, and we love Virginia Commonwealth as we said because of Mike Rose.
Of course we do. Yes,
but they're not offensive efficiency sells in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, always offensive efficient, and they're one of the least offensively efficient teams in the field. They're one of the best defensive teams in the field, but they're not. So they would get them in the second round. I mean, I'm with you on Duke. Let's go to the South now.
Okay.
The South is Virginia is the 1 and Tennessee is the 2.
I had Tennessee coming out. I'm impressed by how they've played against Kentucky for 1 this year. They have Grant Williams, the SEC Player of the Year, and I just again, this is a commentary on me that I just have this argument that I've developed in my mind against the number 1 seeds because I know not all of them can make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that it's probably going to be 1 or 2 and not all 4.
It's probably a fool's errand to try and pick which one. It's
Correct.
It's like when they always say, "Oh, well, a 12 seed's going to beat a 5." Well, thank you for that information. So what?
Please tell me which one.
I mean, that doesn't.
And I will be in Tahiti tomorrow.
But Tennessee is a veteran team.
Yes.
That's pretty athletic
Yes.
and can shoot.
Exactly.
Both of those things. And I was impressed with the fact that they got thumped by Kentucky and came back and thumped Kentucky twice after that.
Right.
That was pretty pretty impressive.
Yes.
I've never understood the Rick Barnes thing, but apparently
But he doesn't have a great tournament history either.
No.
So there's that, between here and Clemson. So there's that to think about.
He kind of reminds me, he's kind of like the college version of Don Nelson. Keeps getting gigs and everybody keeps saying he's great. And I'm thinking, well, if you're great, why isn't it happening, dude? But, it seems like he's been around forever and he's been in a lot of different places. I remember he had Johnny Miller at Clemson.
He did.
100 years ago.
Yes, he did.
Anyway, I kind of like Tennessee too, everything except I'm a little concerned about Rick Barnes.
Yeah.
And I also like Purdue.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not. Virginia is an interesting case. Let's talk about Virginia.
Yes, I mean they lost twice to Duke, which would indicate that they have some problems, running their stuff against athletic teams. On the other hand, that guy's a great coach.
He is. He really is.
And
a great coach.
and as a sidelight to that, this doesn't mean here nor there, but the way he handled Louisiana UMBC last year, I mean, you want the guy to win every game after the way he handled it. That's an object lesson on how every coach should handle losing.
And I think the way he handled that has something to do with the fact that they're 29-2 or whatever they are, or 3 or whatever they are now. No question.
But that was just, beyond impressive. I thought the way he handled that.
They have this kid from Philly, DeAndre Hunter, who they did not have last year in the tournament, who was hurt, who is really an NBA player. He's really an athletic kid.
Yes.
He's the most athletic kid they have. But I don't know. They somehow seem to me like a football team that runs the option. I mean, the things have to go a certain way or it ain't going to work at a high level, and yet they keep winning. They keep beating they're in the best league of the country, and they keep winning. I mean,
they do play that funky defense, and they play a very deliberate offense,
really
which is
good
very out of vogue in this day and age.
It is, and everybody thinks it's boring. I don't think it's boring at all.
No.
I don't buy that.
I mean,
that's like people used to say that Spurs are boring. Shut up. Come on. But anyway, who do we like coming out of that region?
I'm going to stick with Tennessee. I'm going to ride with that, but don't put me under oath.
Okay, well, I will take the Boilermakers.
Whoa!
Because I think they've got a point guard and size. They've got both of those things, and I think he's a pretty good coach.
Okay,
and they've been kind of there all year, although they weren't. I'm going to go there. I think that's a little bit of a wild card region. All right.
Now let me just ask you one thing. This is a technical question. Now, editing wise, if this podcast doesn't run till Friday, can we edit in the real the team that did advance?
Well, the only thing that's stopping us from doing that is technical prowess. I mean, it's certainly not. There's no ethics or anything that come into play.
Ethics, schmethics.
Yeah, really. All right, Midwest Regional. The Tar Heels are the number 1
Yes.
seed, so you know who I like there.
Yes.
Kentucky is the 2.
Yes.
And Houston.
Actually, that's who I wrote down because they're smallish, but they play really good defense. And Carolina's had a little bit of problems with teams like that. I mean, Carolina's bigger than them, obviously, but that was the team I had coming out. But again, maybe this is my anti-North Carolina bias shining through. So maybe.
I didn't really know you had that.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
It is.
It's a thing. I mean. Kansas is way down.
Yes.
They're not
Yes.
very good
No,
at all.
not
In
at
fact,
all.
I think a 4 seed is a reach for them.
Yeah, agreed.
I guess Auburn is a hard team to play against.
I thought about them too because they were very impressive in the SEC championship game.
But what I'm getting at here is I like that sub-regional for North Carolina. I think they're through to the final 8 for sure, and then maybe they got to play Kentucky, maybe they got to play Houston, maybe they got to play Iowa State, who is a hard team to play. Yeah, they're maybe sneaky, but I really like the way this North Carolina, and I just like something about the way that played out with them losing that game to Duke the way they did after beating them twice. I just think they're primed for a run.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who, after that Duke-Carolina game, argued in favor of Duke and Carolina playing again on a Monday in April, which would be, first of all, I don't think my heart could handle that.
Yes, it could. You're fine, big guy. You're fine. But I think that's a possibility.
I mean, they could be the 2 best teams.
Yeah,
they very well might be.
Yeah. Okay, West Region, Gonzaga, the 1 seed. Michigan, the 2 seed, and Florida State, Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a team we haven't talked about. Had a really good year in the Big 12,
and they had a good year last year, and sometimes that does carry over from one year to the next, which actually is an argument for the team I'm picking coming out of that region, Florida State. They made the Elite 8 last year. They gave Duke a run for probably 30 minutes in the championship game of the ACC. So, and they have some size, and they have some guys who can shoot. Although I see that they shot 33% on threes this year, which seemed the way they played that game, it seemed like they should be better than that. Maybe it's just the small sample size thing.
And when they beat Virginia, they made a lot of tough shots. I don't know if that was a fluke or not in the ACC semis, which is just the other day. They made a lot of tough shots, like contested 17-footers and just drilled them, which nobody even shoots 17-footers anymore. It's all
inefficient.
I don't know if that's I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
But I do like their team. I think they're well coached. Really deep. They might be the deepest team in the country.
They played 11 guys against Duke, if I recall.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they play double figures. So who do we have coming out of here? Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, I'm a little.
I'm always leery of them.
Gonzaga.
Always leery of them because it seems like they flame out every year. I mean, there's obviously exceptions, but that seems to be more their history than it is not. And
when they got 2 years ago, they went to the finals.
I believe that's
the championship game.
Yeah, and they got destroyed, right?
Yeah,
because Carolina played them.
Yeah, they got ripped up. But yeah, I don't think this is one of their very best teams. It's obviously a good team, so I'm a little dubious about them. So I'm gonna go Florida State here.
That's where we're in agreement on that one.
Okay, all right. So we've got a Final Four of my Final Four is Florida State, Duke, North Carolina, and Purdue.
Okay, I have Duke, Florida State, Tennessee, Houston. So
okay,
I have one number 1 seed getting there.
We have some. This is just another thing I thought of. We have some real journeyman coaches who have been cuffed around a little bit, who have kind of emerged here. Kelvin Sampson is Houston's coach.
Yes.
Bruce Pearl at Auburn, and of course our boy Rick Barnes. I would put in that category too. Yes, who have kind of found a way. Another interesting team that is Nevada.
Yeah.
Made a run last year.
They did.
They're coached by crazy Bill Musselman's crazy son, Eric Musselman. That's another journeyman guy.
Former CBA coach of the year.
Yeah, there you go. They might be the best of the non.
Yeah.
Are they a mid-major? If you call them a mid-major, they might be the best of the mid-majors, and they've got
that's
a
possible.
shot there. I think they're a 5 seed or something like that.
I mean, there'll be somebody who comes out of the woodwork, which is what makes this event so amazing. Always.
I think this is the best annual sports event in America.
Yeah.
I've always thought that. I don't think college basketball is as good as it was 25 years ago for a lot of reasons. I think the one and done is the biggest reason, but a lot of reasons. But this is it's really fun, and sometimes you're watching these games and you're thinking, man, this is really good stuff. I mean, you're conscious of how much you're enjoying it.
Yes,
sometimes.
indeed.
Yeah. So okay, so that's where we are. So now we got semifinal games, which are for me, it's Purdue. No, not Purdue. It's North Carolina against
Purdue.
North Carolina against it's Midwest against West.
Okay.
So it's North Carolina against Florida State.
That's an interesting game.
Yeah, it is. I like the Tar Heels, of course, and yours is Houston against
Florida State.
Florida State.
That's a tough one.
I think Florida State can win that game.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they're. Houston had a great year, but they're in that American Conference, which I don't think was great this year. That's another thing. Temple got in from that conference, which Fran Dunphy's swan song, which is kind of nice. That's kind of neat. So now we got East against South.
Right.
So that's Duke against, for me, Purdue, which I like Duke.
Duke against Tennessee, which to me I think is a really challenging game.
Yeah, that's an interesting game.
I would not be stunned if Tennessee would win that game. I would not be stunned in the least.
The reason why I'm slightly dubious about Duke is that they just don't shoot the ball very well.
30% from three.
And I thought the other night against North Carolina. And then more so in the championship game, I thought the point guard played really well, which he has not played. He has not played well for the last couple months, I don't think.
Right.
He's good defensively, but so they've almost got to get that out of him a little bit. So I'm a little dubious about Duke, but I have Duke. I think it's going to be Duke and Carolina in the championship game.
That'd be amazing theater.
It's almost like mind blown, because I think everybody in the country, even if you don't care about either of those teams, I think they acknowledge that this is like the Yankees and the Red Sox. This is like Ohio State and Michigan or Alabama.
Fair.
I think everybody gets that, and to see that on that stage would be a pretty cool thing. And again, I have North Carolina cutting down the nets.
There you go. Well, I don't know. I go back and forth. Duke, Tennessee. I can't really figure it. I don't know which way to lean. Duke just has this odd energy about it. And you're speaking of the point guard, Trey Jones. He played a great game against Florida State.
He really did. He was great.
He was their second best player in that game.
He did everything in that game. Yeah,
he was very good. He scored some, and his on-the-ball defense is just exceptional.
Well, he's always good at that.
Yeah,
that's the thing about it. They're so young, but they're very good defensively.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard coaches say, "Well, they just don't get how hard you have to play defensively when they're young"? Well, they get that. Yeah. They don't have any problem with that at all.
Now, here's a sidebar to that. Cam Reddish is supposed to be a top 5 draft pick. I don't see it. I don't see it even a little bit.
He seems really immature to me.
Yeah.
I saw him play actually in high school at the thing at Conshohocken, the D'Onofrio thing, which for people who don't know, that's this sort of, it's not even an AAU thing. It's just this Philly area thing where guys put teams together and these great high school players, and they just play this tournament, and it's really fun to watch. But I saw him in that, and he didn't seem that intense.
No,
he didn't seem. I was surprised how highly regarded he came to be.
I don't see it with him. I looked at the numbers. He's shooting 28% over his last 5, and yet he made a huge 3 at the end of the Florida State game.
Yeah, right.
With the shot clock running down,
and he made a game winner this year against somebody.
I forget who that was.
Yeah, he did.
But I'm not sold on. I mean, Barrett, Trey Jones, Zion. Obviously, those guys are all big time players.
Yeah.
But Cam Reddish, he's gonna have to be better than he's been if they're gonna finish this off, I think.
So we figured out the tournament. We got
There
it
it is.
wired.
You don't even have to watch it.
Yeah, you can watch it if you want to, but you don't really have to because we got it wired.
Is this the part where I can talk about the 3 things about the tournament that really annoy the shit out of me?
That's an excellent segue, my man. Go.
Okay, number 1, Masters commercials. What? Stop with that, with the tinkling piano music and all that.
Yeah.
What, please, just stop with that.
Please.
Number 2, proctors in the media room saying student athletes. Stop with that too. Any questions for the student? Please.
Yes.
When's the last time this guy's been to class? Just stop. Just stop with that.
They have to use that term, student athlete.
That's it. And this is my beef about college basketball in general. The coaches are the stars. This is why I like the NBA better, because the players are the stars. And, it's like I don't need a preening shoe salesman, prancing up and down. I don't need that. That's not entertaining to me.
I now regret that we did not name our podcast "The Preening Shoe Salesman."
There's always next week.
We got time. Yeah, it's a work in progress, people. Things will come to us. Yeah. Well, I'm surprised that you did 3 things and none of them involved Tom Rinaldi. But,
well, that kind of goes in with the
Masters commercials do involve Tom Rinaldi.
And he's like, he's always so, I don't know. I don't know what that tone of voice is.
And I don't hate Tom Rinaldi, but in the right. He's a reporter. He's not an essayist, and
Yeah, but the Masters commercial. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they really, more than any other sports event, they've decided that this is how we're going to sell this as sort of this magical, the coming of spring, and it's
Stop.
You're not a golf guy at all, and I am a golf guy. I love golf, and I love the Masters, but there's a lot of things about the Masters that kind of make you go, and there's a lot of things about golf actually culturally in terms of this country club culture and stuff that kind of make you cringe a little bit, and those commercials are the ultimate example of that.
Oh, 4th thing, by the way. I didn't even.
Oh, of course you got 4. How could I can't believe you kept it to 3 anyway. I wasn't really believing that.
There's got to be a 4th thing, and the 4th thing is one shining moment. Please stop.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I
really hate it.
Lots of people like that, and if you like that, God bless you. Lots of people think that's an annual treat. I'm flipping away from that.
I always turn it off before they go to that because
Yeah.
I just can't stand it. It's so schmaltzy. It's the worst song ever recorded. just stop with that.
It's the worst song ever recorded. How about MacArthur Park?
Well, okay, fair.
All right. So I think we've arrived at the end of the first edition of our podcast.
I think we have.
So, folks, this is the first edition. There are going to be many more. We're going to try to do this once a week. We're going to try to have guests. We're going to try to figure out the technology so we can do it. I mean, that's going to be the big challenge.
Yes, it is.
The content, we can talk about sports until we pass out, and we probably will at the end of our lives. That's probably what's going to happen.
We'll have a death right here in our podcast.
Yeah, so you want to tune in for that. But Gordie has a website, which at least at the beginning is where you're going to be able to find
Correct.
this, which is
GordieJones.com.
Boom.
I thought long and hard about the name.
Yeah, excellent title. Excellent title for that. So that's where you're going to be able to find it. Of course, we hope that you're going to be able to find it wherever you can find podcasts going forward here. But that's what we are. That's what we're about. And I'm really looking forward to this. I love podcasts. I've become a big fan of podcasts. I used to do talk radio. That was a lot of fun.
Right.
I think podcasts are a better version of talk radio. So I'm looking forward to this project going forward. And we hope you are too. What's the name of it again?
After the Buzzer. Mike.
This has been After the Buzzer, Season 1, Edition 1.
Beta testing.
We are out.